Hello, this is Paco Fernandez from Zinpro, and we will talk about skin issues in poultry, chicken and turkeys. You can see here that the nails of the chicken and the turkeys are very sharp, so they can lacerate very easily the skin of other birds. Also, you can see that the skin reminds very much of that of the reptiles from which they have been descending in evolution. Sometimes the nails bring fragments of litter and droppings and excreta from other animals. And 1 gram of excreta can contain more than 100 million of bacteria, so it's very easily to understand that they will inoculate bacteria in the skin and underneath the skin of the other birds. The result of excitement in birds and the piling up when they get alarmed can be the scratches. Here you can see an extreme case, and this is very easily identified as a recent or fresh scratch. If you see scabs or keratinization, you can find out that this is an old scratch, but this is not the case. This is pretty recent before slaughter. And you can see that this disruption of the epithelial tissue can very easily be amplified when you defeather the animals in the pluckers, and then we will have what is called a tear, in this case close to the nail. Here you can see in a processing plant what I was talking about, a tear near the pigostyle or the nail. And I remember sometime I found even 40% of the carcasses like that. And it can be due to different reasons. It can be due to structural weakness of the skin. One of the reasons can be a lack of zinc, for example. Zinc is very important for epithelial tissues. Or it can be due to previous scratches. Or it can be due when we apply too much pressure in the pluckers because the animals, for whatever reason, are not easy to defeather. I told you that when we scratch or the birds, we are inoculating bacteria, and these bacteria can reside underneath the skin, forming inflammatory tissue that we will call cellulitis, and is very easy to differentiate from the abdominal fat, which is white, because it gets yellowish discoloration, and sometimes it can include bacteria that can produce toxins. So this is potentially a public health issue. We have to be careful about that. So cellulitis can instill the condemnation from the veterinarian inspector in the plant. It's a big issue. Here we see dermatitis. Dermatitis is also called scabby hip. And you can see the reason, because it seems a scabby tissue. And this is because bacteria reside and induce inflammatory reaction in the epidermal tissue. And it can happen in areas with a lot of humidity, high temperature, high stock density, and of course environmental contamination. But it can also be helped by scratches. Scratches can happen every time that the bird gets excited, and they can be excited due to different reasons. When we have too many animals per square meter, this is a very good reason to increase scratches. In some countries, when there is no limitation about the stocking density, we see a high priority in terms of dermatitis issues. And scratches usually comes together with dermatitis and cellulitis. So they come hand by hand. Here you can see a slide in which, through different trials, with incorporation in the feed of a good source of zinc, and sometimes zinc and manganese, we can increase the resistance to the rupture of the skin, with zinc and manganese coming from complexes formed with one amino acid and one metal from Zinpro. All in all, we increase the resistance to the rupture about 31.4%. which is huge. The same happens with the intestinal mucosa. We increase the resistance to the rupture with zinc and manganese, and this is important to avoid fecal contamination in the carcasses as well. And we can play the trick thanks to the fact that our metals are much more bioavailable and ready to be used by the physiology of our bodies through the complexation with one amino acid. So the zinc in this case is sharing a couple of electrons with the amino group of the amino acid and the carboxylic group. And this way, when this complex arrives into the intestinal lumen at the enterocyte site, it will be recognized by the receptors of the enterocyte as one amino acid, and it will pass through the enterocyte to the blood through the amino acid channel and not using the normal channel that all other minerals in organic sources are using, which is the inorganic divalent metal transporter, in which they have to compete with each other. Thank you very much, and I hope it can be useful for you.